Stitch Roadies, welcome to Penny. We're trying to get a different change of scenery, and it's beautiful weather the next couple days, so we took advantage of that, and we have driven barely 2 miles from town and are out in the woods. It's nice to have a change of pace and a change of scenery for sure. So I wanted to take advantage of that. But I brought my stitching with me, and I'm going to do a little stitch along with you, and then stitch with me video, and show you some haul that I got. And then after that, I'm going to go out and walk around and sit in the sun. We are so blessed, let me tell you. We are so blessed to be able to have this opportunity. But for those of you that don't know, I had figured out my half birthday. And my half birthday was this week. So I celebrated by giving myself a birthday present. And that book, I still have not found my calendar book. I'm pretty sure now that I probably left it in Tucson, and when we had to leave so quickly, yeah, I think it's in there, because I've kind of gone through all of my quilt boxes and all of my project bags and have not found it. So I'm going to give myself another week, well, probably longer than that, before I can go out and shop for a new one. Because I really did like that little calendar book as a way to keep track of what I was doing. And I suppose I could do it online, but I don't know. I like the physical journaling of it all. And then I got that full visual picture, so I haven't decided. I just keep hoping that somehow it's going to turn up. But I am happy this week because I finally finished, as you saw in a previous video, I finished my one of the Be Well and Stitch charts, and I have decided that on Mondays I am going to start a new Be Well and Stitch chart. There are so many fabulous charts that designers have been posting, and you can find that on the highlight link on Michelle Garrett Bendy Stitches on Instagram. And those highlight buttons are these right at the top underneath her title are these round little buttons, and you can see the ones that there are actually so many designers have posted that there's actually 2 buttons that are Be Well and Stitch. And then when you click on the designer, when you see one that you like, you can click on it and it'll take you to that designer's page where you can download and print. So I finished the Not Forgotten Farms, and then I decided, let's see, where is that one? I decided my next one was going to be the Tiny Modernist, and it is Home Stitch Home. And I'm not sure I will be doing it in the same colors, but I just think that's adorable. Has 2 pairs of scissors and thread at the top. So that's going to be on Monday. I'm going to start that. And I have enough, hopefully, hopefully I have enough to start every Monday. And by the time the quarantine's lifted, I'll have maybe only 3 done. Who knows? Who knows how long this will go on. But it was, I did remember that I had set a goal for myself that I would stitch on my birthday sal. No, it's not a sal. What am I talking about? My birthday project, which I started this project on my actual birthday last fall. And I decided in order to complete it, just to kind of keep it in the rotation and not be focused on it, because I am not a monogamous stitcher. I like to stitch around a little bit. I decided that I would stitch on that birthday project on the 7th of every month, because my birthday's on October 7th. And so the 7th of every month I bring it out and I stitch. So this last week I brought it out, and if you're new, you may not know this, but this was a Stoney Creek design called Harvest Blessing, and I purchased this chart last fall when I was in Minnesota for Buttermilk Basin's stitching event that Stacy West held. And that's, I've got my shirt, hand work mends my soul, Buttermilk Basin. And just so you know, Buttermilk Basin, it's a nice alternative to cross-stitching because it's wool stitching. Her designs are just sweet as can be, and there's no counting. There's no counting or paying attention. It's a much more relaxing stitch than cross-stitch. And so when I was there with my friend Karen, Karen took myself and 2 other girlfriends to Stitchville. Yeah. What a treat. That was an awesome treat. And I chose this as my birthday start. Isn't that lovely? And this is a Stoney Creek Designs. And I know that Stitchville has this. They had this model stitched on the wall. And the interesting thing about Stitchville is they have, I'm sure, over 1,000 models on the walls. And there's a number on them. And if you take that number up to the front counter, they have the Bible. And they look up the pattern and the model number. And they can tell if they substituted fabric or thread colors on the actual model. So it's kind of neat because you can see the actual model and know, oh, I want it like that. Maybe you don't like quite the choices that are in the photograph on the pattern. So they have a really nice system that way. And so here, and I made myself a working copy, so I've been tracing, highlighting over where I've been so I don't have to recount. But here you go. Let me see if I can make that. There we go. And there's my little needle minder from Stitch Goes My Heart. This, I don't know, this particular project just captured my interest right away. My birthday's in the fall, so that was awesome. But the silhouette and everything about it I just loved. And so this last week I did this leaf right there. And I'm not sure if I'm going to continue using the Q-snap. I'm more of a in-hand stitcher, and so I found the Q-snap somewhat cumbersome, but when I take it out of the Q-snap, because I now have to move it, I'm going to try it in hand and see how that feels. I felt like since I started it in the Q-snap, I should finish it in this Q-snap. Do you think the tension would make any difference? I'm not sure, but I have to show you. I love my Catty cross stitches Snipattie pads. So there's the thread all waiting for me for the next time. And she has an Etsy shop that she sells those. And I like having one in each project bag. Keeps track of the thread and it just keeps me more organized. So all of that stuff I will link below. So today is going to be somewhat of a little bit of a whip parade of what little whips I've been working on. I'm just getting my rhythm back, and so I worked on 3 of them so far. That's the thing, is I had listed in that calendar book my 10 and 20. I suppose I could figure it out again, but yeah, I wish I could find that. Yeah. So my model sampler, dedicated to my very first workshop, Fall Fling, is put on by Acorns and Threads. And this pattern is a Heartstring Samplery pattern, and she basically will, you can put any quote in the center of this. And if you buy the pattern and you contact her with your quote, she will chart it for you, is what I understand. So she charted this. This one was specifically charted for Acorns and Threads for Fall Fling. So it said I was a cross-stitcher before cross-stitching was cool. And the flowers are just gorgeous. Yeah. And I am doing them in the DMC colors. My project bag that was gifted by a friend. And then I got my Catty cross stitches Snipattie in there. I'm spoiled that way. I love my Catty cross stitch Snipatties. Then the next whip that I worked on this last week was the Suffrage Act, which is a sal with stitching with the sisterlies. And so I got Suffrage stitched. And I kind of have decided I'm going to do the whole top word. I'm just moving down that way. And I love my needle minder. Eat, Sleep, Stitch. And that's in a Anacolado bag stitch stitch toolbox, and she has an Etsy shop. So today what I'm going to be working on while we sit and talk is the Wizard of Oz. Yes, and it's in my Wizard of Oz bag. Yes, it's about time I dragged that out. And that was an Owl Forestry pattern. And I realized it was a free download, so you can still get it and still join the sew-along. The sew-along is being done with Marion the Librarian and Stitch Goes My Heart. And so I will put those sals and hashtag them in the description box so you can find them. But I realized that, totally forgotten because it's been so long, that I have now moved on to page 2. So the only thing I'm not real keen on so far, so here is where I'm at. I'm working on, I believe, Glenda the Good Witch. Is the eyes on Toto kind of look like he's possessed, and I'm going to keep it there for now, but I am thinking I might change those. And I love this needle minder. It's too peoply outside. So that's what we'll be working on together today. But before we get to stitching, I will show you my haul. So when you follow some of these shops or designers, be careful. Be careful if you're on their email list, because then you get emails, and when you look at the email, you see things that you absolutely need. It's beyond. I'm not, in this cultural world experience that we're going through, I have moved beyond need to want. And so, and they're kind of crossing over big time. But I got a shipment from Kitten Stitcher, Teresa. Yeah, that's who that is, yes. And in it came a free chart. Yes, Teresa. And it was a sweet little band. And I'm going to do it because it's so cute. It's just a real simple thing, but I love it. So I'm going to be doing that. I got a pack of needles because somehow I started worrying about needles, so I just ordered an extra pack of needles. But this is what it was. This is what got me. It was a re-release, a Blackbird Design re-release, Sweet Land of Liberty, and it has 5 patriotic stitch projects in it. And it's just so beautiful. Some of these things, you know, you wonder, am I really going to do all 5 of those? Or it's almost like having a National Geographic. Am I really going to travel to all those places? No, you just want to look at the pictures. But this is beautiful. This is beautiful. So I am glad that I jumped on that before they no longer print it again. And then on to my linen fear. I decided just to get 32 count, which is my favorite count, although I'm branching out a little bit. And this is 32 count tea leaves. Let's see, does she say who this is? By Color and Cotton. Let's see if this will show up. But it's a really nice, just kind of a simple, plain, no modeling. There's no modeling to it. It's just, it kind of reminds me of putty, the putty color. So I got another piece of linen, and because this is one of my favorite stitches, first I drink the coffee, then I do the things that Heartstring Samplery put out. This is before I even became part of the Floss Tube community. I stitched it because I wanted to make it for G, because in the morning I'm like ready to go to show him videos I've seen on Facebook, and he always says first the coffee. So when I saw this, first I drink the coffee, then I do the things, I had to stitch that up. And because I had no Floss Tube community, I had no idea how to do anything. I just did the call for fabric and threads and didn't give it a second thought, and that was on 40 count, which totally blew me away. But it totally blew me away now that I know. But they Beth Twist has printed some of her charts onto stickers, so I had to get that. I had to get the stickers. They were cute. This, I have no idea. I have no idea, other than it reminded me of Arizona, and in fact it's called Mesa Sunset, and I have no idea. But it it was a Nashville thread release, Gloriana, and I thought, I guess I have to have them, and I can't just buy one, because what if I need two? That logic makes no sense. No sense, but because of that, I now have two of those beautiful threads that I kind of don't want to unwind and use because they're so pretty, just like they are. So we're gonna do a little stitching. So if you found that you're shopping a bit more than you normally, are you being really good? Well, and I've tried to rationalize that we are not traveling. So, let's see, I'm going to count here. Okay, so that goes there. Okay, so it's kind of like we're not traveling. I mean, our biggest expense, because we're about connecting stitchers and quilters from all of the, you know, I have in my mind that we are more alike than different. And if I'm surprised that even dinged, because I usually can't get service out here. Interesting. But I've always believed that irregardless of our religion or politics, we are still more alike than we are different, and that there might be a way for me to connect people on a different level. And so hence quilt roadies and stitch roadies, and roadies is part of the word. And so it feels weird to not be on the road, not be traveling. With that said, I've been thinking about how different our lives are this last month, and how much peace there is to it also, because we're kind of busy. We're both introverts though, G more than I, but so the actual sheltering in place has not been, I mean, the only people I really want to see are my kids and grandkids, and then my girlfriends here at home. I have missed them, because now it's going on 5 months since I've seen anybody in my immediate circle, because we were on the road, and then everything happened, and then our sons told us not to come, that to stay hunkered down here in Sisters, which I get, but that's a long time. That's a long time. So that part is hard for me. On the flip side though, where we live in our home, and being a crafter, and G being a musician, it's kind of made me more settled, if I can say that there's a positive side to this. I'm more settled. I am less you know, it's like he told me the other day. He goes, you know, you used to go to Bend like 3 times a week, and I don't know what you'd go there for. And I'm trying to think, other than to visit my girlfriends and do a stitch day, I'm not sure why I had to go there to grocery shop, because I certainly have found everything I need and want here. So, I wonder if you could hear the cars driving by. We're not far away. Sound travels in the forest like you wouldn't believe. like you can hear an elk bugling that's probably 10 miles from you. But there's a country road that goes up to a lake, and you can't get all the way up there because it's got snow on it. It's too deep in snow. But in the first half of it, you can find some different spots to turn off and go walk in the woods if you want. And people are desperate. They're desperate to breathe something other than their interior home ventilation systems. So, well, I'm kind of rambling because now I can't remember what I was talking about. Oh, shoot. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Oh, well. Oh, I know. So I've just been, I haven't been stressed by staying in my house. I miss my family and friends, but actually having to stay in my house has not been a hardship at all. It's just weird because our lives were based on being on the road, and now it's like we should change our name from Stitch Roadies to Home Roadies. Home Roadies. Oh, gosh, it feels good to get back into this whip thing. Mainly because I am finding the need to want to start something new. But I think I have so many things started right now that I really would like to get, you know, I finished V's for Valentine before we left Tucson, and so that was on my list of 10 and 20. So I have 9 more things. And the things I showed you today are all on that list. And I have been shopping a bit online. It's really, do you think it's weird buying groceries online? It's weird for me. It's not something I do regularly, but there are just certain food items that I can't get here that that I would normally pick up and stock up on at Costco, or which is in the next town, or Portland. But we're not going to Portland, and we don't even go to Bend to shop. Besides the fact that when I went on Costco.com, the things that I wanted said on the online, said out of stock. And I know in one of the comments that I read yesterday, you know, she was saying that there's a run on yeast and flour now. Interesting times, interesting times. We had our Zoom book group here in Sisters yesterday, and that was nice to see everybody. And let's see, I think our next book is Talking with Strangers. Yeah. oh, I can't tell you, it feels so good to get back into this whip rhythm. I know many of you have said that you can't seem to get back into the homework rhythm or the stitching, you know, the different groups that you're in. And I get that. It's just kind of like you want to do what you want to do, but there's something really sweet about getting back into the whips. So I am happy to be doing that. Let's see, we have there 1, 2, oh, one more row. Okay. Now this, I love this fabric. Oh, I got this at Stitchville, and it's 28 count watercress, Joblin. I can't wait to show you. I actually called up Stitchville yesterday. You know, all of these wonderful LNSs are down to one person shops, and so you gotta appreciate that they're even making the effort to provide us with stuff. But I had bought a project when I was there last fall that I absolutely loved, and it wasn't a big one, but they didn't have the thread. They didn't have the thread from the model. I like the way the model was stitched. They didn't have the thread, and so I bought the fabric. And then I was going to call back and get the thread at a later date. Well, then I totally forgot about it. But yesterday, when I was digging through the piles just to see what was going on in there, I saw it again, and so I said, I'm going to call them up and see if they ever got that thread in. And so I did, and this lovely lady answered the phone. She's by herself, and she says, well, I'm going to go back and look, and I'll call you back. And she called me right back, and she said they did not have the thread, and I told her the fabric that I had bought there, and I said, can you pick something out that looks really good with that fabric that I could use also, because it was a variegated, and it was only it was a design that only required one thread, you know, whatever thread color you chose. It was I don't know what you call that, but it's just one color, you know, and it was a variegated. So she came back on the phone and said, sure enough, she found something that she thought would just be lovely. And so I said, I'd appreciate if you just send that to me. And then I thought, well, I had her on the phone because I had gotten lots of different suggestions from all of you about where I could find Mermaid's Brew, and that was leading down a road, an unsuccessful road. No passing this road. So on a whim, I said, you know, I really need a piece of Mermaid's Brew, 36 count. Do you by chance have that? And she said, well, hold on a second, let me just go look. And she came back and she had it. It was like Christmas. I knew because it was my half birthday week that good things would happen this week. So that's coming. So I'm going to be able to kit up the rack stack by Plum Street. Excited about that. I just know it's going to be so awesome the first time I can walk through a physical LNS. That's going to feel so awesome. Our schools here are closed for the rest of the school year, so the kids won't be going back until September. That's a huge adjustment for school systems because we are in snow country. Days are already added to the school year that that are makeup days because a lot of times school will get canceled if the temperature drops below 12 degrees because the buses can't run, or if it's just too much snow and nobody can get out. They cancel school, and then they add those school days to the summer months. So school for us sometimes will run halfway through June. And now, you gotta admire all the teachers that are having to scramble and figure out how to educate our youngsters when they physically can't see them. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but my oldest son, we homeschooled him for a couple years. He was kind of a little bit too smart for the bell curve, I guess you could say. He had a really difficult time in school because it just didn't meet his needs. And they initially tested him, and that was something. They gave him all these educational tests and found out this little 7-year-old's brain was working at the level of a 12 to 17-year-old. That you'd think we would be so proud and happy. We were freaked because we didn't know what to do. And so the school skipped him a grade. So he was young for his class, and they skipped him a grade, which he absolutely hated because maturity-wise, he was not ready for the next grade. He was barely ready for the grade he was in. And so that lasted for just, I think, I don't know if I can, 3 or 4 months, and we realized this was not going to work. And so we decided to homeschool him. And he absolutely loved it because back then, the state we were in had a very, very supportive homeschool community, and an actual teacher from the school district would come out once a week and review what you as a parent had done. I mean, that's amazing. That was amazing support. And he loved it because literally when you think about all that it takes to educate a child, the processes of educating a child take up more time than the actual educating of a child. I mean, teachers nowadays are disciplinarians, parental figures. I mean, there's this whole list of things that they have to do. CEOs of the classroom. But homeschooling, you just have your child, one child to discipline, not a whole classroom to take care of. And we would literally finish our daily educational part in a couple hours, 2-3 hours. And then the rest of the day, I had to figure out things that would keep him busy. But, so we did a lot of field trips. There was a very, very supportive homeschooling community where we lived, and those kids would get together for, you know, things to do, and field trips and sports and things like that. But when we moved here, they didn't have anything. There was no homeschooling. There was no teacher coming out. And we lived out in the middle of like 300 acres. So back into school he went. Yeah. It was very challenging. So now there's all thousands and millions of parents that are experiencing homeschooling, and they didn't get a chance to make the choice. See, I made the choice, and I had researched it and was jumping in wholeheartedly. But these poor parents and these poor teachers that are trying to organize this with a moment's notice, wow, that is challenging. I really do like stitching in hand. I had to laugh out loud. One of the comments, because you know, with Stitch Roadies and Quilt Roadies, I linked them both onto my personal blog, and some of the followers on that blog are not necessarily on YouTube, and that's why I do it. And I have one reader who goes by the name Unknown, but I always recognize her. She's funny. She was talking about the Stitch Roadie video where I was talking about how Java Girl and Samplery stitches are so crafty and do all their finishes so beautifully. And she said, she goes, I am not, I want to see if I can remember it. I'm not a person who looks at a bleach bottle and thinks, oh, I can make something out of that. I need a pattern. And I'm exactly that way. I would not be crafting something out of a bleach bottle. Well, I think this is long enough for a stitched with me, huh? I need to go out and enjoy the outdoors and blue sky. Every so often a pine cone falls because squirrels are running around up there and knocking them off. And you can tell the spot we're in that it was a muddy mess at one point because it's been raining so much, and then there was snow and that's all melted, and you can just see that the earth has dried out, but it was a muddy mess before we got here. So, well, thank you. Thank you for hanging out in the outdoors. I hope you all are healthy and safe, and we shall see you in the next Stitch Roadie video, and there will be more haul, I can guarantee it. Take care. Bye.